The moon was dead. No life, no sound, no light, only the ruins of a prison built long before humans had ever touched the stars. Dust floated in the air like ghosts, and broken metal doors lined the dark corridors. A lone human walked inside. His name was Captain Elias Ward, an explorer who went where others feared. He carried only a dim light in one hand and a scanner in the other. His ship waited outside on the cold surface, engines silent. Elias had heard whispers of this place from old star maps. They said the prison was built by the Galactic Council centuries ago. It was a cage for those the galaxy had chosen to forget. No one came here now. The Council had abandoned it, but Elias was curious. He wanted to see with his own eyes what the galaxy tried to erase. As he stepped deeper, his boots echoed against the cracked floor. One cage after another appeared, stretching endlessly in both directions. He stopped. The cages were empty. All of them. Rust clung to the bars. Old restraints lay broken. Chains rattled weakly when he passed. Yet Elias could feel something. A presence. A quiet breath. He lifted his light. At first it looked like another empty cage. Then he saw her. A small figure sat in the corner, curled against the wall. Thin arms wrapped around thin legs. Her skin shimmered faintly in the dark, like starlight caught in glass. Her eyes glowed, large, sad, and otherworldly. An alien girl. She was alive. Every other cage was silent and dead. But this one held the only prisoner left. Elias froze. His heart raced. How could she be alive after all these years? The prison had been abandoned for centuries. The girl looked up slowly. Her voice cracked, dry from silence, but the words were clear. You finally came? Elias stepped closer, but carefully. Who are you? He asked. She stared at him for a long moment, as if afraid he might vanish like a dream. Her lips trembled before she whispered, They forgot me. Everyone left, but they forgot me. Her voice was soft, almost broken, like a child who had cried too long. Elias glanced at the cage. Strange markings covered the metal bars, symbols of power, old technology designed to hold even the strongest beings. This was no ordinary prisoner. Whoever she was, the Council had locked her away with care. Elias felt a shiver crawl down his spine. He had heard stories, rumors of a race long ago, beings with powers the galaxy feared. They were said to be wiped out in the Great Wars, erased from history, and yet, here sat one of them, still breathing, still alive, still waiting. The girl's glowing eyes met his. Please, she whispered. Don't leave me here. Not again. Her words cut through him. He could feel the weight of years in her voice. How many days had she counted alone in the dark? How many times had she begged the empty walls? But Elias knew the danger. If the Council had left her here, it was not by mistake. She was not supposed to exist. To free her would be to break the highest law in the galaxy. The silence of the prison pressed against him. He looked around. The shadows felt alive, watching. Why was she the only one left? Why had they emptied every cage? Except hers? He gripped the bars, staring at her. Why are you still here? Why only you? The girl's eyes filled with tears that shimmered in the dim light. They wanted me gone, she whispered. But they needed me too. I don't know why. I only know. I was never meant to leave this place. Her voice broke on the last word. Elias felt something stir inside him. Anger, pity, fear. He had come looking for answers, but instead he had found a child left to rot in a forgotten cage. Then, a sound. A deep rumble echoed through the floor. The walls shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. Elias turned sharply. Somewhere in the darkness, a system had awakened. Lights flickered on along the hallway. Red symbols glowed against the walls. The prison was not as dead as it seemed. The girl looked at him with sudden fear. They know, she whispered. They know you are here. Her voice trembled as chains rattled around her wrists. You must go. If they find you? They will never let you leave. Elias stepped back, his heart pounding. The silence was gone. The prison was waking up as if it had been waiting for this moment, for someone to finally open the last cage. Every instinct told him to run, to leave the girl behind, to escape before the prison closed its jaws around him, but his eyes locked with hers one last time. The loneliness, the pain, the hope. Everything was there. She had been forgotten by the galaxy. But not by him, not now. The lights above blazed red. Warning alarms screamed. Elias's choice stood before him, heavy and dangerous. Every cage was empty. Except hers. And now she was no longer forgotten. The alarm screamed across the prison like a living creature howling in rage. Red lights pulsed along the walls, bathing the hall in blood-colored glow. Captain Elias Ward gripped his scanner tight, heart hammering. He had come only to explore, to see ruins of the past, but he had awakened something far more dangerous. Behind the bars, the alien girl struggled against her chains. Her glowing eyes darted around the corridor in terror. "It's awake," she whispered, her voice trembling. "The prison remembers." Elias looked at her, his jaw tight. "What do you mean the prison remembers?" She shook her head quickly, tears forming again. "It's not just walls. It's alive in its own way. It was built to watch me, built to keep me, and now it knows you're here." Elias scanned the halls. The metal floor trembled, faint vibrations crawling through his boots. He had seen war machines before, automatons, drones, sentries, but this was different. This prison was reacting like a wounded beast. He turned back to her. "What's your name?" The girl hesitated, as if the question was too strange after centuries of silence. Finally, she whispered, "Liara. Liara." Elias repeated softly. The name felt heavy in his mouth, like something forbidden. "Why are you the only one left? Why were the others taken?" Her glowing eyes closed for a moment. Her voice came weak, almost fading. "They came long ago. Took the others away, some to fight, some to die, but not me. They said I was different. Different how?" Elias pressed. Liara's chains rattled as she hugged herself tightly. "I don't know. They never told me, but they feared me more than the rest." The floor shook harder, a deep metallic groan echoing through the corridors. The alarms cut off suddenly, replaced by a low mechanical voice that made Elias's blood run cold. "Prisoner containment compromised. Unauthorized life form detected. Protocol Omega initiated." The walls lit up with moving patterns. Strange glyphs shimmered across the floor. Ancient alien technology older than human empires. Elias took a sharp breath. He had to decide, leave her or take her. If he stayed too long, the whole prison might collapse on him. But Liara's eyes, those sad, glowing eyes, watched him with desperate hope. "You're human," she whispered. "Humans don't abandon. They say you always protect." Elias felt the word strike deep in his chest. Protect. That was what humanity stood for. That was what made them feared and respected in the stars. They fought for those who couldn't fight for themselves. He stepped closer to the cage. "If I free you, what happens? Will you hurt me?" Her face fell, hurt flashing across her features. "I am not a weapon, I am just alone." Elias studied the runes etched on the bars. His scanner beeped with warnings. The energy locking her in was far beyond human tech. It was old, dangerous, precise, and yet he saw weaknesses. The power lines feeding the lock were brittle, decayed with age. He knelt, pulling a tool from his belt. Sparks flickered as he connected a small disruptor. Liara gasped softly. "You would break their law? For me?" Elias gave her a grim smile. "I don't answer to their laws. I answer to what's right." The moment his disruptor cut through the lock, the prison roared in fury. Lights blazed brighter and the ground shook like an earthquake. The bars hissed and melted away. Liara stumbled forward, chains still clinging to her wrists, but free from the cage at last. For the first time in centuries, she stood outside her prison. Her legs trembled, weak from long captivity, but her glowing eyes burned with new life. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice trembling. I thought no one would ever come." Elias reached out and steadied her. Her skin was strangely cool, almost like touching starlight. But before he could speak, the mechanical voice thundered again. "Warning. Warden activation in progress. Intruders will be terminated." Elias's blood ran cold. He had heard of wardens before. Massive machines built to guard entire facilities, unstoppable engines of law. If one had survived here, the ceiling groaned above. Heavy steps echoed in the distance. Each one shook dust from the walls. Liara's eyes widened in fear. "It's coming. The warden. It will not stop." Elias tightened his grip on her arm. "Then we move. Now." He pulled her into the corridor, running past empty cages. Each one seemed to watch them, like ghosts of forgotten prisoners whispering warnings. Liara stumbled, but Elias didn't slow. He could hear the heavy stomps closing in behind them. As they turned a corner, a massive shadow appeared. A giant figure of metal and steel taller than any man filled the corridor. Its eyes glowed red. Its arms were weapons, one shaped like a blade, the other like a cannon. The warden. It raised its head, focusing on them. Its voice thundered, shaking the walls. Prisoner must remain. Human must be purged, Liara gasped, clinging to Elias's arm. It knows me. It was made for me. Elias raised his weapon, though it looked like a toy compared to the monster before him. His heart raced. He had chosen this path. He had freed her. Now he would pay the price. The warden stepped forward, each movement shaking the prison. Its blade arm rose, ready to strike. Elias placed himself between the girl and the machine. His voice was steady, unshaken. If you want her, you'll have to go through me. Liara's glowing eyes widened. No one had ever stood for her. Not in all the years of her life. The warden's red gaze fixed on Elias. For the first time, the forgotten prison truly came alive, and the battle for freedom had begun. The ground shook as the warden advanced, its metal footsteps like thunder inside the abandoned prison. Dust fell from the cracked ceiling and sparks hissed from broken lights. Captain Elias Ward stood firm, his weapon raised. He knew his gun was no match for the towering machine before him, but he also knew one thing. He could not leave Liara behind. She clung to his arm, her glowing eyes filled with fear. You can't fight it, she whispered. It was made to hold me. It will never stop, Elias's jaw tightened. Then we don't stop either. The warden's red eyes locked on them. Its voice echoed like rolling thunder. Prisoner is not permitted release. Human interference detected. Termination sequence active. With a sharp movement, its cannon arm lit up, glowing with deadly energy. Elias reacted instantly. Move, he shouted, pulling Liara down the corridor. A beam of pure light tore through the air, smashing into the wall where they had stood. The explosion shook the prison like an earthquake. Metal and stone flew in every direction. Elias shielded Liara with his body as fire and smoke filled the hall. His ears rang, but he forced himself forward. They ran, stumbling through the endless corridors of cages. The alarms wailed above and the walls glowed with red warning symbols. The warden followed. Its steps were slow but unstoppable, each one bringing it closer. Prisoner cannot escape. The law is eternal. Elias gritted his teeth. He had fought soldiers, smugglers, even pirates, but never a machine built only to enforce the law. And this one did not hesitate. It did not feel. It only obeyed. They turned a sharp corner and Elias pulled Liara into a small chamber. The door was half collapsed, giving them a moment of cover. He breathed hard, sweat dripping down his face. We can't outrun it forever, he muttered. Liara sank to the floor, chains clinking on her wrists. Her glowing eyes shimmered with guilt. I told you. You should have left me. Now you will die because of me. Elias crouched in front of her, his eyes steady. Listen to me. I don't regret freeing you. Not for a second. She stared at him, confused. But why? You don't even know me. Elias's voice was firm. I don't need to. No one deserves to rot in a cage. Not a child. Not anyone. Her lips trembled. No one had ever spoken for her like that. A loud crash echoed outside as the warden smashed through the walls, searching. The prison itself seemed to bend to its will, doors unlocking, lights guiding it toward them. Liara grabbed Elias's arm. You can't win. But maybe I can help, Elias frowned. Help? How? She looked down at her hands, trembling. My people. We were different. We could control energy. That's why they feared us. Energy? Elias asked, watching her carefully. Liara nodded. But I don't know if I can control it anymore. I've been locked away too long. The wall exploded inward, throwing debris across the room. The warden's massive shadow filled the doorway. Its blade arm rose, glowing with power. Elias stood in front of Liara, weapon raised. Then now's the time to try. The warden's voice thundered. Prisoner will be destroyed. Human will be purged. It swung its blade down with crushing force. Liara screamed, and her body erupted with light. For a brief moment, the entire chamber glowed like a star had been born inside it. Energy surged from her chains, shattering them into dust. The blast threw Elias backward, and even the warden staggered under the sudden force. Bolts of radiant energy shot across the room, cutting into the walls, tearing through ancient machines. The air crackled with raw power. Liara collapsed to her knees, gasping, her hands glowing faintly. I can't hold it, she whispered. The warden steadied itself, smoke rising from its metal frame. It turned its red gaze back on her. Unstable anomaly detected. Termination priority increased. Elias scrambled back to his feet, rushing to her side. He pulled her up, ignoring the static shocks burning his hands. Control it later, he said firmly. Right now we run. He dragged her through a gap in the wall where her energy blast had torn the metal apart. The warden's massive footsteps followed, shaking the ground behind them. They ran through broken corridors, fire and sparks lighting their path. The prison was falling apart as if Liara's power had cracked its ancient systems. Finally, they burst into a wide chamber. At its center stood an old control panel, flickering weakly with life. Elias's eyes widened. If I can trigger the emergency locks, maybe we can slow it down. He rushed to the panel, slamming his hands across the glowing runes. The system sputtered, fighting him, but he forced his disruptor into the console. Sparks flew and doors slammed shut across the prison. The warden roared from somewhere behind them, pounding against sealed barriers. Elias turned to Liara, who was still trembling, her eyes glowing faintly. That blast. You saved us, he told her, her face twisted with fear. No, you don't understand. If I lose control again, I could destroy everything. Even you. Elias placed a firm hand on her shoulder. Then we'll figure it out, together. The floor rumbled again. From the far wall, massive doors began to slide open. Beyond them, Elias saw a faint glow, the hangar bay, a way out. But the warden's voice echoed closer now, vibrating through the very walls. You cannot escape. The law will not forgive. Elias tightened his grip on Liara's arm. He had made his choice. He would not abandon her. Together they stepped toward the hangar, knowing the battle was far from over. The hangar doors groaned as they opened, metal grinding against metal. Beyond them lay a vast chamber filled with rusting ships, forgotten vessels that had not touched the stars in centuries. Some were broken hulks, others intact, but silent. Captain Elias Ward's eyes lit up with hope. A ship, he muttered. If one still works, we can get out of here. Liara leaned against him, her glowing eyes dim. She looked pale, trembling from the power she had unleashed. I don't know how much longer I can keep going, she whispered. Elias gripped her shoulder firmly. Then you lean on me. We're almost there. But then the floor shook. A metallic roar thundered through the hangar as the massive warden smashed its way inside. Its red eyes cut through the shadows like burning fire. Prisoner must remain. Human interference will be erased. The warden advanced, its blade arm carving sparks against the ground. Elias's heart pounded, but he refused to show fear. Move, he shouted, pulling Liara between the broken ships. The warden fired. A beam of light exploded against a ship hull, tearing the ancient vessel apart in a burst of fire. Shards of metal rained down, forcing Elias and Liara to duck for cover. The prison trembled around them. If the warden destroyed the hangar, their escape would be impossible. Elias led Liara through the wrecks, weaving between the skeletons of ships. His mind raced. He needed a plan. His weapon was useless against something that size. The warden's voice boomed, echoing off the walls. Law is eternal. No one escapes. It stalked them like a predator, each step heavy, deliberate, unstoppable. Liara stumbled, falling to her knees. I can't, she whispered. I'm slowing you down. Elias dropped beside her, grabbing her hands. Look at me. You're not slowing me down. You're the reason I'm still running. Her glowing eyes searched his face. No one had ever spoken to her like that. Not in all her years of captivity. The warden's red beam sliced through another ship, sending fire rolling through the hangar. The heat scorched Elias's skin, and Liara cried out in fear. He pulled her up again, guiding her toward the far end of the chamber. There, under a heavy tarp, stood a ship that looked mostly intact. Its hull was scarred but sealed. Its engines might still live, that one, Elias said, pointing. If we can reach it. A massive crash cut him off. The warden dropped down directly in front of the ship, blocking their path. Its voice was a roar of judgment. No escape. Prisoner belongs to the law. Human will be terminated. Elias raised his weapon, though he knew it was hopeless. Stay behind me, he muttered to Liara. The warden swung its blade arm down. Elias rolled aside, pulling Liara with him just as the blade tore a burning scar across the floor. The ground cracked, shaking violently. Pieces of the ceiling fell like meteors, smashing old ships into ruin. Liara screamed, clutching her head. Sparks of energy flickered across her skin. "I can't control it," she gasped. "It's too much." Elias grabbed her shoulders. "Listen to me. You are not a weapon. You're alive, and right now, I need you to fight not for me but for yourself." The warden aimed its cannon at them, charging for a final blast. Liara's eyes blazed brighter than ever. She raised her hands, and a wave of pure energy burst outward, colliding with the beam. The two forces clashed in a storm of light and fire, shaking the entire hangar. The warden staggered, its systems flickering. For the first time, it faltered. Elias pulled Liara toward the ship. "That's it. Keep pushing." But the effort drained her. She collapsed again, her energy fading as quickly as it had come. The warden steadied itself, red eyes burning hotter. Resistance only delays punishment. Elias reached the ship, slamming his hand against the entry hatch. To his relief, it hissed open, old hydraulics groaning. He dragged Liara inside and dropped her into a seat. The cockpit smelled of dust and oil. Dead screens flickered weakly. Elias slammed his disruptor into the main console, forcing power through the ship's veins. Lights blinked to life. Engines coughed, then roared faintly. The warden stepped closer, raising its blade again. The ship shook under its shadow. "Come on," Elias growled, slamming buttons. "Just one flight left in you." The engine screamed, sputtering to life. The hangar floor shook as the ship lifted a few feet off the ground. But the warden struck. Its blade smashed against the hull, tearing metal and sending sparks raining across the cockpit. Elias fought to keep the ship steady. Liara clutched the seat, her eyes glowing faintly again. "I can help," she whispered. "I can give it more." Elias looked at her. "What do you mean?" She pressed her hands against the console. Energy flowed from her into the ship, merging with its systems. The engines roared louder, brighter, stronger. The ship surged upward, tearing free of the warden's grip. The warden roared, leaping upward to drag them down. Its clawed hand gripped the landing strut, metal screeching as it tried to hold them back. Liara screamed, pouring more energy into the engines. The glow filled the cockpit, blindingly bright. Elias shouted over the roar, "Come on! Break free!" With a final burst of power, the ship ripped from the warden's grip. The giant machine crashed back into the hangar, buried in fire and rubble. The ship shot upward through the collapsing ceiling, blasting into the dark sky of the dead moon. Elias gasped for breath, his hands shaking on the controls. Liara slumped in her seat, weak but alive. Below them, the hangar burned. The warden's red eyes glowed faintly in the fire, still watching. Elias looked at the stars above, determination hardening in his chest. They had escaped the prison, but the hunt was not over, because the law would follow them, and the galaxy would not forgive. The stars stretched endless before them, shining cold and distant. The old ship rattled as it broke free from the moon's gravity, its engines glowing faintly with Liara's energy still pulsing through them. Inside the cockpit, Captain Elias Ward slumped against his chair, his hands trembling from the fight. Sparks still hissed from damaged panels. Warning lights blinked across the console, reminding him how fragile their escape was. Beside him, Liara sat pale and weak. Her glowing eyes flickered dimly and her breathing was shallow. She looked small in the oversized seat, her wrists still raw from centuries of chains. Elias glanced at her. "You held us together back there," he said softly. "Without you, that ship wouldn't have moved." Liara lowered her eyes. "It wasn't me. It was what I am. What they wanted to keep caged." For a long moment, silence filled the cockpit. Only the hum of the engines and the creaks of old metal broke the stillness. Finally, Elias spoke. "You said your people were different. That's why they feared you. Tell me, Liara, what did they do to you?" She hugged her knees against her chest, her voice small. "We were not criminals. My people, the Liora, were born with a gift. We could touch energy, shape it, bend it, even give it life. It was not magic. It was simply part of us." Her eyes glowed faintly as she spoke, like starlight in water. "At first, others welcomed us. We lit their worlds, healed their machines, powered their cities. But then they grew afraid. They said we could do too much. That no one should have such power." Elias listened closely, his hands tightening on the controls. "So they turned on you," Liara nodded. "The Galactic Council declared us dangerous. They said we could not be trusted. One by one, they hunted us. They killed many. They caged the rest. Her voice broke and tears slid down her cheeks. I was only a child when they took me. I don't remember my family's faces. Only the cage. Only the silence. I thought maybe I had done something wrong. Maybe I deserved it. Elias's jaw clenched. He had seen cruelty before. Pirates enslaving the weak, warlords burning villages, but this was worse. This was the law itself turned into a weapon of fear. You didn't deserve that, he said firmly. None of your people did. Liara looked at him, her glowing eyes filled with pain. Then why was I the only one left? Why did they keep me alive when the others were gone? Elias frowned, thinking. The warden called you an unstable anomaly. Maybe they kept you for study. To learn from you. To use you, Liara shivered. They used me already. They would come sometimes. Take blood, measure my power. I didn't understand then. I only knew I was alone. Her voice cracked again. I prayed someone would come. But years passed, decades, centuries, no one came. Until you. Elias felt a weight in his chest. He hadn't planned to save her. He had only been curious, only wanted to explore an abandoned prison. But fate had put her in his path, and now she was his responsibility. Suddenly, alarms beeped on the console. Elias leaned forward, frowning at the readings. What is it? Liara asked nervously. Elias's eyes narrowed. We're not alone. On the radar, multiple signals appeared, small ships closing in fast. Their markings were unmistakable. Galactic Patrol. Liara's face went pale. They've found me, Elias muttered under his breath. Already? How? The prison, she whispered. It was not just a cage. It was a beacon. It was always waiting to call them if anyone touched me. Elias slammed a fist against the console. Damn it. Outside the viewport, the patrol ships grew closer, sleek and sharp like predators circling prey. A transmission crackled through the speakers. A cold, commanding voice filled the cockpit. Unidentified vessel, this is Galactic Enforcement. You are harboring a forbidden species. Power down and surrender immediately. Failure to comply will result in destruction. Liara's hands shook. They'll take me back. They'll put me in a darker cage. And this time, they won't let me live. Elias's heart pounded. He had a choice. Obey the law and hand her over or fight against the most powerful force in the galaxy. He turned to Liara, his voice steady. Listen to me. I didn't free you just to give you back. If they want you, they'll have to go through me. Liara's eyes widened. You would defy them? For me? Elias gave her a small grim smile. For you. For what's right. Humanity doesn't bow to tyrants. We break chains. Her lips trembled. She had never heard words like that. Hope flickered in her glowing eyes. The patrol ships armed their weapons, red lights flashing across the radar. Elias gripped the controls. Hold on tight! The first volley of fire ripped through the darkness, blazing past their ship. Elias swerved, engines screaming as he pushed the old vessel to its limits. Liara clung to her seat, fear and awe mixing in her face. The ship shook violently as enemy blasts struck near the hull. Elias gritted his teeth. We can't outrun them. Not like this. He glanced at Liara. Can you do it again? What you did with the engines? Liara hesitated. I don't know if I can control it. I could burn the ship from inside. Elias's voice was steady, unshaken. Then trust me. I'll keep us steady. You just give us the fire. Liara's glowing hands pressed against the console again. Energy flowed through the ship, brighter and stronger than before. The engines roared like thunder, the old vessel leaping forward with impossible speed. The patrol ship struggled to keep up as streaks of light blazed behind them. Liara gasped, sweat on her brow. I can feel them. Their energy. Their weapons, I can... Bend it, she raised her hand. Outside, one of the patrol's missiles curved in mid-space, spinning back toward its own ship. The explosion lit the stars in fire. Elias's eyes widened. You can control their attacks? Liara nodded weakly. A little. But it's dangerous, Elias smirked. Dangerous is fine. We'll take it. The battle raged across the void. Elias dodged and weaved while Liara bent energy blasts away, sending enemy fire spinning back at their pursuers. One by one, the patrol ships fell, burning in the silence of space. But as the last ship exploded, Liara collapsed, faint and trembling. Her glow dimmed almost to nothing. Elias caught her before she fell from the seat. Stay with me, Liara, you did it. You saved us. Her voice was barely a whisper. I don't know how much longer I can do this. They'll keep coming. They'll never stop. Elias looked at the stars ahead, his eyes hard. Then we won't stop either. If the galaxy wants a fight, they'll get one. But you're never going back to that cage. The stars glittered cold around the battered ship as it sped away from the dead moon. Its hull groaned, engines coughing with every surge of power. Inside the cockpit, Captain Elias Ward held the controls steady, his jaw set like iron. Beside him, Liara sat slumped, her glowing eyes faint, her breath weak. She had burned so much energy to help them escape. Even so, a small spark of light still shimmered within her, refusing to die. Rest, Elias told her quietly. I'll handle the rest. But his eyes flicked to the radar and his stomach sank. New signals appeared. Not one, not two, but dozens galactic patrol reinforcements. The law had unleashed its hunters. The transmission crackled again. The same cold voice from before, but sharper now, carrying anger. Captain Elias Ward of Earth, you are charged with aiding a forbidden species. You are now an enemy of the Galactic Council. Surrender the anomaly at once. Elias didn't flinch. His hands tightened on the controls. They've already branded me a criminal, he muttered. So be it. Liara stirred, her voice weak. They'll never forgive you. Not for me. Not for this. Elias gave her a quick glance, his eyes steady. Then let them hate me. I don't care. What matters is that you live free. Her lips parted, but no words came. She had never heard anyone speak like that. Not in all the long years of her captivity. The patrol ship spread across the stars, a net closing in. Sleek, deadly fast, they moved with perfect precision like a machine built to crush any defiance. Elias pushed the old ship harder. The engine screamed. Panels rattled. Warning lights flared. He flew low across an asteroid belt, weaving between spinning rocks. Enemy fire blazed past them, smashing into stone, sending fragments scattering like glass. Liara gripped the seat, her glowing eyes widening. They'll tear us apart. Elias's voice was calm, sharp, controlled. Not if I tear them first. 2 patrol ships closed in tight, firing in perfect rhythm. Elias twisted the ship sideways, scraping between 2 massive asteroids. The enemy followed, but the rocks slammed together, crushing one patrol in a cloud of fire. The second ship fired. Elias dove, spinning the vessel through a narrow gap. The blast struck an asteroid instead, ripping it apart. Shards slammed into the patrol, shredding its hull. Another hunter gone. Liara gasped softly. How do you do this? You're not like them. You're not like the Council soldiers. Elias gave a small, grim smile. Humans learned long ago, we don't need perfect machines. We fight with instinct, with will, but more patrols kept coming, 10, 20, too many. The law was relentless. Elias's ship rattled under heavy fire. Panels exploded, sparks raining across the cockpit. Alarms wailed, Liara trembled. We can't keep running. They'll destroy us. Elias's eyes flicked to her glowing hands. Then maybe it's time to stop running. She looked at him, confused. What do you mean? He steadied the controls, steering toward open space. They want you because of your power. Then show them why they fear you. Liara shook her head quickly. No. If I lose control, I could destroy everything, even you. Elias's voice was firm, unshaken. Then trust me to keep you steady. You're not alone anymore, Liara, not in this fight. Her glowing eyes met his. For the first time, she believed him. Slowly, she placed her hands on the console. Energy sparked through the ship, bright and alive. Outside, the engines roared with renewed force, glowing brighter than before. The old vessel surged forward like a comet blazing across the void. The patrol ships fired volleys of missiles. Liara's eyes blazed. With a wave of her hand, the missiles curved mid-space, turning back against their senders. Explosions bloomed across the stars. Elias grinned. That's it. Show them what happens when they cage the wrong girl. But the Council's forces adapted quickly. They switched formations, moving with ruthless efficiency. A massive cruiser loomed in the distance, its weapons glowing. Liara gasped. That's not a patrol ship. That's a hunter class. It was built for war. The cruiser's voice thundered across the comms. Ward, surrender now. You cannot fight the Council. The prisoner belongs to us. Elias leaned forward, his voice sharp with defiance. No, she belongs to no one. The cruiser fired. A beam of light split the stars, rushing toward them. Elias yanked the controls, but the blast still struck the ship's side. The hull screamed in protest. Warning alarms shrieked. Oxygen levels dropped. Liara cried out, clutching the console. Energy poured from her body, sealing the damage with glowing light. Her breath came heavy, each surge draining her strength. Elias looked at her, worry flashing in his eyes. You're burning yourself out. She shook her head weakly. If I stop, we die. The cruiser loomed closer, its shadow swallowing the stars. Fighters poured from its hangar, dozens of them swarming like locusts. Liara's hands shook violently. There are too many. Elias set his jaw. Then we don't fight all of them. We hit the heart. Her glowing eyes widened. The cruiser, he nodded. We take out the flagship. The others scatter. She stared at him in disbelief. That's suicide. Elias gave a small, grim smile. Only if we fail. The ship dove toward the cruiser. Fighters swarmed around them, firing in endless bursts. Elias weaved through them, flying low across the cruiser's hull. Liara reached deep within herself, her eyes burning with fierce light. She raised her hands, and the enemy's weapons twisted, turning their fire against each other. Fighters exploded one after another. Elias brought the ship nose first toward the cruiser's glowing core. The comms roared with the council's voice. Ward, stop this madness! You cannot win. Elias's eyes narrowed. Watch me. Liara unleashed everything. Her energy surged like a star gone wild, pouring through the ship into the void. The cruiser's shields cracked, shattered, and its weapons failed. A brilliant explosion lit the stars as the flagship tore apart, its pieces scattering like burning meteors. The surviving patrol ships faltered, breaking formation, fear rippling through their perfect order. Elias pulled the ship away from the blast, panting, sweat pouring down his face. Beside him, Liara collapsed, her glow fading. He caught her, whispering fiercely, "Stay with me. We're not done yet. You're free, Liara, and I'll make sure you stay that way." But deep inside, Elias knew the truth. The council would not forgive. They would not stop. The whole galaxy now knew his name. Humanity had broken the chains, and the chase had only just begun. The wreckage of the council cruiser drifted across the stars, burning pieces scattered like dying embers. Captain Elias Ward's battered ship limped forward, its hull torn, engines coughing with every pulse. Inside the cockpit, silence hung heavy. Elias's hands gripped the controls, blood running down his arm from a cut. His eyes burned with exhaustion, but he refused to rest. Not yet. Beside him, Liara lay slumped in her seat. Her glowing eyes had dimmed to the faintest shimmer, her body fragile after pouring so much power into their survival. She looked like she could vanish at any moment. Elias leaned close. "Stay with me, Liara, we're not finished." Not yet, her lips moved weakly. They can't fight anymore. They'll come again, stronger, they always do." Elias's jaw tightened. "Then let them come. This time they won't take you." His radar blinked again. More ships. This time not patrols, but an entire fleet. Sleek warships, their weapons glowing. They spread across the void like a wall of steel, cutting off every path of escape. A transmission cut through the silence, a voice of authority sharper than the rest. "Captain Elias Ward, you are surrounded. You have committed high crimes against the Galactic Council. You have destroyed one of our flagships, and worst of all, you have claimed what is forbidden." Elias's heart pounded, but he kept his face hard. "Say it," he muttered. The voice thundered. "You harbor the last of the Leora. Hand her over and your death will be swift. Resist and humanity itself will bear the weight of your crime." Liara stirred, fear flickering in her dim eyes. "Elias, you can't. If you defy them here, they won't just hunt you. They'll hunt your people. Your entire race." Elias turned toward her. His face was tired, bruised, but his eyes burned like fire. "Listen to me. Humanity doesn't bend. We don't abandon those who need us, not ever. If they want to threaten my people, then let the galaxy hear this." He stood, blood staining his torn uniform, and activated the ship's comms. The channel opened not only to the fleet, but to every listening ear in the sector. His voice carried across the stars. "This is Captain Elias Ward of Earth," he said, his tone sharp as steel. "I hear your charges. I hear your law, but I do not accept them." The council fleet bristled, weapons humming, but he continued. "You say this girl belongs to you. You say her people were too dangerous, so you caged them, erased them, broke them. But hear me now, she belongs to no one. Not to your laws, not to your prisons, not to your fear." He looked at Liara, who watched him with wide, trembling eyes. His next words were slow, deliberate. "She is mine. She is under my protection. I claim her not as a weapon, not as a prisoner, but as a life. And if the galaxy itself wants to fight me for that, then so be it. Humanity will not forgive your chains. The transmission fell silent. The void itself seemed to hold its breath. Liara's lips parted. You claimed me. Elias gave her a faint, tired smile. I did more than that. I told them the truth. Tears welled in her glowing eyes. No one had ever spoken for her, not once in her long life of cages. For the first time, she felt something stronger than fear. She felt hope. The council's voice returned, sharp with fury. You dare stand against the law? You are a single human ship. You cannot win. Elias's grip tightened on the controls. Then you still don't understand humanity. The fleet moved, weapons locking on his battered vessel. Liara sat up weakly, her hands trembling as she pressed them to the console. Elias, if they fire, we can't survive. Not unless I... Her voice faltered. Elias caught her wrist. No, you've given enough. If you push yourself again, you'll die. Her glowing eyes searched his face. And if I don't, we both die. The fleet's weapons blazed to life, charging for a final strike. Elias closed his eyes for a brief moment. He thought of Earth, of humanity's long history of defiance, slaves who broke chains, rebels who toppled empires, explorers who walked where no one else dared. Humanity was born in struggle, and it had never bowed to tyrants. He opened his eyes, fire burning within them. Then we fight together. Liara's glow flared brighter. Energy poured from her into the ship, stronger than before. Her voice rang with strength. I will not go back. I will not be forgotten. The fleet opened fire, but the blasts curved, twisted in mid-space. Liara's power bent the very weapons of the Council, sending their fury spinning back. Explosions rocked the warships, fire spreading across their ranks. Elias steered them through the chaos, weaving between burning wrecks. The Council ships faltered. For the first time, fear spread among them. As the battle raged, Elias's voice thundered once more across the comms. Let the galaxy hear this. You caged her. You broke her. But humanity will stand for her. If you want her, you'll face us. And we will not bow. His words echoed like a spark in dry wood spreading beyond the fleet across the stars. Others listened. Smugglers, rebels, broken worlds crushed by the Council's law. And in their hearts something stirred. The Council had always ruled through fear. But fear had a crack now. Liara collapsed back into her seat, weak but alive. Her eyes still glowed faintly, shining with something new. Elias, she whispered. What happens now? He looked at the stars ahead, his voice steady. Now we run. Now we fight. And one day we turn their prisons into graves. She closed her eyes, resting against her seat, but a faint smile touched her lips. For the first time she felt free. Outside, the stars stretched endless and wide. Dangerous. Beautiful. Waiting. Elias gripped the controls. Determination etched into his face. The galaxy would never forgive, but humanity would never forget.